Here it comes. And here we go. And we'll give it a minute to see who is able to pop in here, because I know it takes a moment to warm up on the YouTube, but we are currently live. I'm watching the icon. I know somebody will watch this after the fact. It's like, what are you guys doing? And I don't want to just be sitting there.
Twiddling our thumbs.
Sitting there looking foolish. I see Uncarded Reviews is in here. Kane Munin is in here today. Glad you could make it. And, of course, we have Daniel from StickyGoose Comics joining us this evening. LPH is not sure if she's going to be able to make it down here or not. She's kind of tied up. A lot of you who watch our channel know that she's had some issues with her parents recently. There's Punisher X. Glad you could make it. Yeah, it's been a hot topic all over YouTube. It really has, because people want to tear it to bits because they love getting their teeth into something. It's like a rabid dog. It's like a rabid dog, but wanted to have a fairly objective discussion. So Daniel agreed to come on, and we'll
appreciate you having me, buddy.
Absolutely. We'll have a little bit of a talk about it. And of course, StickyGoose Comics on YouTube, for those of you who have not seen him before, and you can find him on Instagram as well. Talks primarily about the comic book industry and hobby. I know I'm kind of all over the place, as you can see from the background. There's Raccoon Eyes. They had 3 books they wanted to send in. Well, don't worry, Raccoon. It's not so bad. It really isn't. And we're gonna explain. And Bat Hombre, first time in a live chat, always watching your videos. Thank you. Glad you could make it today. As we're gonna dive into this, it's been unfolding slowly for a few weeks here, as somebody stumbled over the possibility that someone may have switched out something in a slab, which had already really kind of been going on anyways, but then that's your broken slab. People would do that, and I caught one a long time ago and did a video on it, and everybody got mad at me. That
really?
Yeah, it was like 5 or 6 years ago, and I was like, this is it. It was actually Gargoyles #1, 9/8, and broken slab. And I was like, but this is not a 9/8. There's no way. It's got ticks all over it. It's got a blunted corner. And I'm like, I'm looking at this. I'm thinking like 8.5, 9. There's no way this is a 9/8. This guy swapped it out. Everybody was pissed. How dare you? But
they were mad at you because you were talking about it, or
yeah, like I did something wrong. Well, you don't. Grading is a matter of perspective, and it's like, well, they're not going to see like 9 ticks up the spine and say that it was oh, this could still pull a 9/8. The CGC is not that bad even then. But K Munin says they discussed the subject on Comic Collector Geeks live stream, not something the comic collecting community needed. But it is.
Oh,
it is something that the comic collecting community needed, because it does happen. Fortunately, it got caught up, and it put CGC in a position to acknowledge it.
Yeah, I mean, their back were against the wall. I mean, they had to make a statement. They were kind of forced.
Yeah, they had to say something about it, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
My question is how long have they known?
It could have been a while. It could have been quite a while. It could have been quite a while, or they could have suspected it. But now they've taken the steps, and we can read through some of the what they've written about it. That they're going to hire an investigator, and they're going to search through it, because ultimately, and this is the part that a lot of people, it's I think it's gone right over their head. CGC was scammed first. They're the ones that were scammed.
Yeah, because they were abusing their reholder system, correct?
Yeah. Somebody figured out a loophole, because they should check. And they had in the past, because there was the incident, you might remember a few months ago, the guy with the copy of Shazam he sent in to get a new holder. And they looked at it and said, well, there's something wrong. This isn't the same grade anymore. So they are supposed to be checking. But there is something that's revealed when you look at the list. When you look at the list, and actually, if you want, we can go ahead and pull that list up.
Lots of duplicates, lots of books that are like high grade of books that shouldn't be. There shouldn't be that many high grade books around that grade.
Yeah, here's what I took away from the list here. If I can open up the right one.
I think the biggest things, I think the biggest books on there, like the first Black Cat, there was like 1 million of those. ASM 300, there was 1 million of those.
Yeah. These are all hot books. They're high demand books that get slabbed a lot. And so I'm like, with a couple of exceptions here, like you see Spider-Man number 3, 1963 or whatever. But as you start moving down here, there's
that right there is the story.
194s, 194, 194. There's a ton of them. And then there's your Mark Jewelers insert. Amazing Spider-Man 238. There's a pile of them here. And I know there's 252. There's a ton of them. 300. The whole rest of the list almost is Amazing Spider-Man 300. There's so many of them coming through, they don't have time.
I think what this guy was doing was he was getting like a 9.4, 9.6, getting them for cheap, and then making that switch, getting him to a 9.8, and you're basically doubling, tripling your money every time. And it was enough that because to have that many 9.8s, I mean, how many are on the census? I mean, I would say ASM 300 is probably one of the most, if not the most graded book in CGC's history. What does that do to the census? I mean,
yeah, there's thousands of them on the census. Everybody gets this grade. What I had shown in a video just recently, because I've got the Secret Wars number 8. Right. I've got like a regular and a newsstand, and I showed them, and people were impressed that they were not slabbed. Because I didn't know there were any that weren't slabbed left.
Right.
Because that's what happens. Now, if you sent, and that's on here too, that Secret Wars, there's a ton of them on here.
Yeah, it's basically, it's all the starter type books. It's ASM 252, it's Secret Wars 8, it's New Mutants 98, X-Men 266. It's like all the books that like a new comic book collector or people that just want a slab, those are the books they get.
Yeah, and you see here the Incredible Hulk 180
Incredible Hulk
and 340.
Yeah.
And there's your Secret Wars. Here they come.
Yeah, with all the variants. There's the Canadian Price variant. There's the Mark Jewelers.
And they got over on some signatures too.
Yeah, that's what confuses me.
Yeah. That one gets me because I'm looking at, there is a few of these, like right here, convention edition, signed by Michael Turner and Peter Sturgerwald. Like, how did you manage that? Signed by Stan Lee.
That's the crazy one. Was this dude like just like writing on another book? Like, did he just scribble on a book?
Or he had more than one autograph.
Yeah.
He had a lower grade and a higher grade autograph and just swapped them out. I could see that. But they're all like demand books that get slabbed constantly. That would fly under the radar. I'm not going to slice open the inner holder on this stack of 80 ASM 300s. I don't have all day. You guys are already putting the whip to me as it is.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's their due diligence. They got to open up that sleeve when these books come down.
Because sometimes they do, like we had said with the with that Shazam. I forget what number it was. The old Captain Marvel, the Golden Age one, and the guy was pissed because he couldn't get his original grade back. They said it's not this grade anymore.
Yeah, it's brutal, man. They should have compensated. See, that guy should have been financially compensated for that.
Yeah. And what does that mean to CGC also? There's another thing that stands out on this list. About 98% of it is Marvel books.
Yeah, I mean, what was like the Adventures of Superman? There was like that book.
Yeah, I see a couple of Ninja Turtles down here.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. Okay, so there's that.
Wonder what printing it was.
there's a Mirage Studio. It doesn't specify. If it was second, I think it would have to say so, second or third.
Yeah.
So it might be an original print. You know, I'm not seeing much else. Dawn of War. So that, you know, Michael Turner's Soulfire.
See, those like single books, like books that there's just one of, that feels like to me that may just be like one of the books this guy has sold and not actually indicative of like funny business going on.
That's
like,
possible.
Like some of the, like, or the Avengers 1, like there's just one copy. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, and that's a good point. And I saw like one, I saw a single Catwoman. There it is.
Yeah.
So there's your only DC book.
Yeah, it's the Adam Hughes cover.
It's all, it's almost all Amazing Spider-Man 300 mostly, but yeah, it's all Marvel titles.
It feels like predation on new collectors or people that don't have a lot of slabs, or honestly, like some of these bigger books. I mean, you're talking about people with big time money, and maybe not in the hobby as much as, you know, a lot of other collectors wouldn't see a slab's been tampered with, wouldn't notice it. Maybe
that's a possibility too. Yeah. Then you've got that Incredible Hulk 181. There's a ton of them here. I mean, what's that going for these days?
Well, it's plummeted.
Has it? Well, it's over hyped anyways. I had that on my list. People got mad at me for that too. But I had the 10 most overrated books because they're out there. You know, when I used to do this more when I was with New England Comics way back in the day, you could find those books. I mean, it wasn't necessarily that cheap, but you could find a Hulk 181. You know, all of those books are out there. Some of these books that people are dying for now were sitting in dollar bins.
Yeah, the Eternals #1, that's the book that would crack me up. Like they couldn't sell those books. And as soon as that movie kind of got a little bit of steam, they were like, "Oh, we got a spec on Eternals."
Well, yeah, there's a lot of that goes on in the online comic community as well. Or you saw what happened with She-Hulk.
Yeah, exactly.
Savage She-Hulk #1. Oh, that was flying. And it's plummeted to below where it was because of how unpopular the show was. Even though I will hear from someone that'll say, I saw it and I thought it was great. Okay, that's fine. If you liked it, you liked it. What am I going to do? But
yeah, the Hulk 181, this is a little bit crazy to me because this could be where he made a lot of money because getting the ones without Marvel value stamps and then swapping them out for Universal labels.
No kidding. Yeah, because there were a lot of them. There are a lot of them out there that it's been clipped out. Yeah. That is true. That is true. So I could see, buying purple labels and sliding them out. Purple labels in the same grade. You could match it even closer.
Mm-hmm. You ever tried to crack one of the new slabs
from CGC?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you able to get it like open without cracking it?
Oh, without splitting it? No, it's still shattered, but then I'm not trying. You know, right. I just want to make sure I don't hurt the book if I open one up. But I'm not trying to keep the slab intact. So I hadn't thought about that. I do have that video clip of the guy demonstrating. I think you showed part of that on one of your discussions.
Immaculate Comics. He used the heat gun, and then he just basically used like this small crowbar he had with like just a sharp edge, and he was able to separate it, and it was pretty clean.
Yeah, I have that. I can show that real quick for anybody who hasn't really seen that yet. I'll just try to jump ahead to where he starts.
I just wonder how many of them are sliding a new book into a slab versus the abuse of the reholder system. And I don't know if we'll ever get those answers, but it just seems very, very difficult to get a book back into a slab without noticing it. right?
Well, you would think so. You would think so, or you think that that they would have noticed it when they get this slab back, unless they're that overwhelmed. And if they are, and they need to hire more people, well, the price is going to go up again.
Yeah, CGC is going to make out like a bandit on this because one, they're going to have a new slab, and who knows how long it's been in development. This thing might have been ready to go because they knew that all this was going on and they wanted to have a slab ready. I mean, it's and now everybody's, you know, got their panties in a wad. It's like, oh God, I got to get my books protected. And if you have the option, you want to send in another book. It's like, do you want to pay the extra $5 for the super secure slab? Yes.
Well, you know, that's the question that someone brought up here. Where they were like, you know, what am I going to do? I had some stuff I wanted to send in, and you're probably fine. You're probably fine because you're not, you know, you're not dealing with these massive high-end books, and it's not. If you send in your own personal book for CGC to Slab, nobody's going to switch it because it's not CGC that's doing it.
Right.
So those people don't really have anything to worry about. If they own a slab and they're worried, it depends on what that slab is. You know, I don't think if you got one of these, you got to worry too much. You know,
no, that's not that's a great example. I mean, it's a nice book. It's just, who's going to scam that?
Yeah, it wouldn't be worth it. It's not worth that much. You know, the artwork on the back's better than the front, actually.
Oh, wow.
It's a full, like, portrait panel on the back.
That's
you almost want to hang it in reverse. Yeah. But this is what most of the industry is right here.
Yeah. And the list is so telling of, you know, what was scammed. I mean, it's the books that every comic collector, every new comic collector wants.
Yeah. It's those ones that they've been told to drool over. The ones that everybody's trying to make into the new blue chips.
Yep. Basically,
your ASM 300 again, and I'm surprised I didn't see the Punisher on there. Actually,
there was 3 of them. There was
did I miss it?
8.5. There was a 9. There were 2 9s and an 8.5.
Okay.
And the only reason I knew that is because I have an 8.5 that I already had slabbed, and I had to go look and see if mine was on there.
Well, you know, there's always PGX.
Man, look at that label. Oh my God.
What
are they doing?
I don't care though. It's Alien Worlds. It's not worth a fortune, and the grading is on.
Right.
You know, if I looking at it, I'm like, yeah, that's a 9.8.
Yeah, I have 1 PGX.
Mm-hmm. They often get a bad rap. Now somebody's going to get mad that I said that. They had their problems, but that was like what, 15 years ago. I'm sure it's okay by now. But yeah, I mean, I had some slabs sitting here, but like this. Nobody is going to break this open and flip out a book.
No.
But a lot of people, they want to blame CGC. And, you know, oh, they need to do better. They need to do this and that. And I understand that. But CGC didn't scam them. And no matter what CGC does, somebody's going to try something. Mm-hmm. This is a person who was looking for a way. Because, and like I said, I had the video clip up here of the guy open it up, and I can show it in a minute for people that, see, there it is. Oh, wow. Thanks, Tactical. But they're
just looking for a reason for to burn CGC. They're looking because honestly, this story is kind of a people that are for slabs and against slabs.
Yeah. And I kind of picture like Gargamel in his hovel on the Smurfs talking to Azrael and wringing his hands. CGC is finished. I'm going to kill them. They'll be destroyed forever. They're putting their videos out. and talking about how I told you this was going to happen. CGC has finally dropped the ball. All your slabs are going to be worthless because they think their books will be cheaper somehow. Now, because everyone will distrust CGC, and there's really not that much to distrust when you consider that last year they probably processed 8 million books, and they've got 350 from this one guy that may or may not all have been swapped.
Right.
You know, we'll see. And the other argument is that somebody, you know, other people may be doing it too. Maybe. How many?
And it's a drop in the bucket. I mean, even if it's a factor of 10 or 100 or 1,000, that's 8 million slabs. Just like you said, 8 to 10 million slabs graded a year. Like that's literally nothing.
Yeah, it really doesn't even hardly register. But this is a person who deliberately wanted to deceive people. He wanted to find a loophole. He figured something out, worked at it, like the guy in the video here, the guy in the video clip. What he does, it's still not perfect.
He still cracked. He cracked one side of it.
Yeah, it's not perfect, and I'll run it here. You know, I don't have the audio on, but I'll go ahead and run it here so people can see what he's doing. And again, that's Immaculate Comics. If anybody wanted to go and look at it, at the video and the full thing, it's not a perfect process. It's something he would have had to practice. So he practiced to deceive. He looked for an opportunity, figured something out, figured out a scam, and got away with it for a while until somebody figured it out. And how much of that can you really hold CGC accountable for, or any of these grading services?
Well, he was getting sloppy because it was just like, you know, how many newsstand Mark Jewelers 9.8 ASM 252 Secret Wars 8s are there? I mean, that's like the unicorn book, like the unicorn version of that book. And then you keep selling those. I mean, people are going to start noticing. He got greedy.
Yeah, and also there's the possibility, and this one I think is a bit more of a big deal, and I forget who it was that was doing it. We had watched a video with a guy who works with comics and submits comic books, that he goes beyond cleaning and pressing. He tries to do restoration and not get caught. And he married a Mark Jewelers variant into a first appearance of the Hobgoblin.
Wow.
And submitted it and got the purple label back because they figured it out and cracked it out, worked on it again, and submitted it again. He sent it in 3 times, and the last time they missed it.
Wow.
And so, you know, I'd be more concerned about stuff like that. With
well, I feel sorry for them. I mean, they're the ones having to piece this together. And I mean, people that are good at restoration, I mean, I can't imagine how difficult it would be to detect some of this stuff. You know, some of it's getting glossed over.
And there's a lot of people who have like zero skill in detecting it. And if it wasn't for the fact that there was a slab with a purple label, would never have known. And so they can pan grading all they want, but that's part of the reason why people do that kind of stuff, is send things in the first place, not just to see if they can get the best possible graded version, but also some people do it for detection.
That's a good point.
A lot of people would never be able to tell if something was colored in or if a staple was replaced.
Yeah, and especially if you're at a show and you're in that light and you're in the heat of the moment, I mean, good luck telling if even if something's trimmed.
Oh yeah.
Like, you've got to sit there and really look at something to figure that kind of stuff out.
Let's see if I can get to where he uses the heat gun here.
Now this is on a CBCS slab, so he's trying to.
Yeah.
And funny enough, he actually invited me on his channel, and I'll be on Immaculate Comics channel this Saturday.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'll be interested to talk to the man, because to be honest with you, it seems like he has some skill, as far as with what he's doing, specifically with his pressing and cleaning. It seems like this guy knows what he's doing. So
Yeah.
a lot of these guys, they will not reveal their secrets, and that there's some people that'll talk about everything, and then there's other guys, and I've talked about this on my channel. It's like this hidden cabal of like comic book cleaners and pressers that are trying to withhold their information because that's their livelihood. And I get it,
Yeah.
but at the
Yeah.
same time, I mean, I feel like that would be information that would be good for the comic book world.
Yeah. It would be a good one is you do a video and you show it doing it all wrong so that people mess their books up.
That'd be pretty insidious.
Yeah, I know. It'd be evil. But then you show a perfect book at the end, and then you're sitting there like, I don't understand what happened.
Right.
But yeah, that's what we've come down to. You know what it reminds me of? I don't know if you're aware of this. In Chicago, what is that guy's name? Brandon Johnson, the current mayor of Chicago, had a lawsuit. This is sort of the same thing, just to help people get it into perspective, against automotive manufacturers. I don't know if you heard about this.
No.
He was suing like Kia and Toyota and General Motors, and he had like a laundry list of car manufacturers he was going to sue. The reason that he's was because I believe it was thrown out of court. He was trying to sue them because he was blaming them for auto theft, saying that it's their fault because criminals are not having a hard enough time breaking into the cars. And the judge, and this guy's mayor, and the judge is like, you're blaming your high crime statistics on auto manufacturers? No, we're not doing this.
And
And
not law enforcement.
yeah, to started dismissing the cases. And it's sort of the same thing. It's like you want to blame CGC specifically for the fact that there are people out there that are looking to scam people and rip them off.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy, and it was also just making me think, like, it's almost like a car manufacturer, whether or not they want to do a recall or just deal with the lawsuits. Like this feels like a decision that CGC had to make internally. Like maybe we just like pay these people and not deal with the lawsuit. It's kind of like saying like, hey, let's just fix these people's cars. Let's do the recall and go about it that way. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, well, could they effectively sue CGC? That would be the question. They'd end up with a settlement anyways because the judge isn't going to take that seriously. You want to hold them responsible because this guy was dirty. Why aren't you suing him? Would be my question if I was the judge.
And in their terms of service, they even talk about this, that they're not liable for tampering with the slabs, which I thought was very interesting, because really that they don't have to do anything about this. This isn't their responsibility. They're literally doing this for PR. They're doing this to try to make it right.
Yeah, I mean they're number one in the industry, whether anyone likes that or not. I mean, there are alternatives, but they are number one in the industry. They get the most business. They get the most prestige, because if you had a CGC slabbed book versus any other book, that's the one that's going to make the money.
Right.
It doesn't matter how spot on the grading is.
Yeah, there's a premium for the label.
Yeah, there is a premium for that label. And they make mistakes like anyone else. None of these grading services are perfect. So they really don't have to, but they're looking at it from the perspective of customer service. we want to make sure we make ourselves look good. And it's kind of surprising in this day and age where customer service is almost dying off. Customer service has been terrible.
And so many times you buy something and it doesn't feel like it feels like you paid too much and you didn't get even close to what you paid for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's a good opportunity for them to demonstrate customer service, which is an area people have taken stabs at with them in the past, like trying to get anybody on the phone, trying to lodge a complaint, or things like this people have had difficulty with in the past. They've gotten a little better actually in the last year or so.
Yeah, thankfully my only issue with them has been my SM300 that was damaged internally in the case, and they made it right. But as far as like being sent the wrong book or things like that, that's never happened to me, thankfully. But I'm just going to say this. I am not submitting anything for a while until that new case comes out. Because it's one of those things. It's like, I'm just going to wait, because I mean, if you're coming at it from like a dealer perspective, or you're coming at it from like wanting a collectible in the encapsulation, and you have expectations of selling this, you would be foolish to send books down there right now and get a encapsulation that's their current one, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe the prices on those will go down.
I feel like they've got to get rid of those completely. I would say we get another price hike. I think somebody even said that in the comments. I say we get another price hike this year.
That's possible. And they've already cycled through a few recently. Hey, there's always this.
Oh, no.
No. For those of you who aren't aware, this is EGS. This is an EGS slab.
Yeah, you would show the one that's like a 9.8 and perfectly centered. And yeah, I see you, Dave.
That's how it came. Look, I got my certificate and everything.
Its number is 0000000.
Is it? Oh yeah, it is. It's like that's ambition for you though.
It's ambitious.
I hadn't really paid attention to that. See all the zeros, folks, and then it's 4577 on the bottom.
He plans to grade 1 trillion books.
Possibly, yeah. That makes me think of Silver Spoons. I don't know if you were old enough to remember the show Silver Spoons.
No,
and
sir.
the grandfather had an auto accident. He crashed the car, and he gets on the phone, and they want to know his insurance card number. And he starts rattling off this line of zeros: 000000026.
So he was the 26th policy number.
Yeah, well, he was pretty old on the show.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that makes sense, because they are going to have to make getting back to waiting a little while. Also, you should wait for them to do another discount for renewal.
Yeah,
because they're into doing that now, and that's what I'm waiting on. I'm not going to bother until I can get because I let my thing lapse. A lot going on here anyway. I haven't been sending submissions, but if they're going to have to make some kind of design change.
Yeah,
someone.
Go ahead. People have said that the label needs to be attached or somehow like to the inner sleeve. And another thing is like the inner sleeve needs to also have some sort of information tying it to that book specifically. Now, how they do that, I don't know.
Well, one thing that I had thought of, somebody had suggested making it so that there's a color change if you open it. Which you could do with oxidizing agents like they used to with those disposable DVDs that you would rent and they'd only work for 30 days. I don't know if you remember that.
You're kidding me.
No, it was a vending machine and you'd get it and it's like this flimsy, like almost transparent DVD on a slip of paper, and you could watch it for a few days, and then the thing would dissolve on you. But one thing that I had thought of was if they had like the inner case, just extend it, so the label is also inside, like a double pocket, and it's one piece instead of like this and then the paper, and that way you'd have to pull the whole thing out,
right,
with the label as well. I think that would solve a lot of problems, but I don't work at CGC, so.
Because it seems like, I mean, honestly, there's probably a black market for like, hey, can you get me a ASM 300 9.8 white page case with that label in it? You know what I mean? Because that's all you'd need.
I don't know. There's always something. Somebody will find a way. Somebody will find a way.
He's on a channel. Oh my God, their name is escaping me. They're putting me on the spot. Oh man, he's got a really funny channel. He's with this Australian guy.
Yeah, I see a couple of other people like right there. New to Vero 2 also has a channel. I know him. He was here. He was at the museum. He came here the day that Pixel Dan was here.
Okay.
So it just wanted to, if I see somebody that has a channel and I remember, I try to point it out so people can take a look. Try to help each other out, you know.
Whack Comics. That's
Whack Comics. Okay.
Yes. WHACK Comics.
And yeah, Munin saying, after hearing about CGC destroying the Superman comic a while back, and now this, I'm not too confident in sending them any of my comics. I know the one you're talking about. That's where the guy's like flipping through the book wild and damaged the Superman. I think I saw the video clip on that. But again, Munin, that stuff is rare when it happens. Again, they process millions of books, and there's a handful of problems. It's gonna happen. It's
incredible that they're as good as they are.
Yeah,
personally.
That's right, Zom. Somebody's gonna get a whooping. That's right, and that's gonna be CGC, because they're paying for it. But they volunteered to pay for it, or as Daniel had pointed out here, according to their own policy, they don't have to worry about any of it. You signed an agreement. It's kind of like your cell phone agreement. You don't know what's in there. This big, massive line of text, and you check the box at the bottom because you didn't want to bother to read it. And you could have sold your soul to the devil in that contract, and you wouldn't know it.
Exactly.
And Vero had a point here. Says he's been covering PGX and EGS grading as alternatives to CGC. As a former government auditor, they need to have more than one company as the standard, and it's needed. There's no FDIC or SEC for regulations.
This is a good point. And like to have a standard, because CGC kind of is that standard, and there's certain expectations. Like when a new grading company comes out, like EGS or some of these other ones, it's like the standard is CGC. And if you can't provide services close to that, then somebody could sue you theoretically, because the industry standard is, XYZ.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, like, legally, and I think we kind of talked about this earlier. It was just like, if you were to sue CGC for somebody else damaging your comic book that they had nothing to do with, good luck in a court of law. Like that book is out of their hands. That is not their responsibility.
No, that's the guarantee there. We're going to guarantee our opinion of the grade of your book.
Right.
We'll seal it up for you. And then take it from there. Once we send it back to you, it's on you. And if you did anything to it, then you're the one that should receive the repercussions.
Yeah, that is a hot button take to think that way, but it's a rational way, because you have to put yourself in their perspective. What can they guarantee? The only thing they can guarantee is just that they can, if they damage your book during the encapsulation, during, when it's down there, that seems to me like that's their fault. But at the same time, when you're sending that book down there, that's the assumption of the risk. You're taking that risk, right?
Yeah, that you're taking a risk sending it to them, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know. That's one of the concerns I had when they were so far behind, when CGC and CBCS were like way behind on grading, and you were waiting months and months and months. And I'm like, where are those books being stored? Where are they being? Where are those boxes being stacked up? Is it climate controlled? Is the stack going to fall over? Is it on the bottom? Is it getting crushed? What's happening to my books? Because it may not come back in the same condition. But and so for me, the rotation is very important to maintain.
There's reversion with pressing. Those books revert after a while because they don't. A lot of these books don't hold their press.
Oh, that all depends on how you do it. But well, sometimes people use too much moisture, and you get a little bit of waviness at the top. That's where that comes from. If way too much moisture was used, that can happen. Also, if people press it dry, it's certainly not going to hold. And that's one thing to consider. That's actually something that Tony from EGC brought up when I talked to him, was that he says, I seen what you do for cleaning and pressing, but no grading service is going to do that. They got a one and done kind of a deal where they just cram it through the process, which kind of makes you question. I have a bigger problem with this with CGC than anything else. If I send you in a high dollar value book, you're going to charge me more for the cleaning and pressing, but do the exact same thing that you do for every other book, which is wipe it with a sponge and throw it in the thing dry.
Yeah, I've never sent a book to CCS, so I can't speak about that, but I've not heard good things.
Well, iCollect is here. These people are still popping in. But again, there's only so much you can expect from them. There's only so much you can require from them to do. People want to be outraged. People want to be upset. There are a lot of people that don't like grading, never did. This is an opportunity for them to complain and try to.
When it first came out, I was extremely skeptical. I even made a video saying that I was like, is this actually real? Because until CGC made a statement, it was all speculation. Because people were like doing all this detective work. They claimed they were, finding these books, matching them up online. And I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, I can make a JPEG, I can make an image, I can do whatever on the computer. But as soon as CGC said something, I was like, okay, this is real.
Yeah, because that was the thing too, is it could be a scam, but it is plausible. But now they acknowledged it, and there you go. There you go. Somebody had a question for you. Zombie says, Sticky mentioned on his video earlier that the list will grow over the next months or years. So will CGC be paying out over many years? What kind of compensation?
I think absolutely. I think this list is going to grow indefinitely. I mean, I feel like I feel like if they have to keep this list growing, like, because it's not. It can't just be these 350 books. And as far as like the compensation, I mean, my question is it going to be compensation in like CGC bucks, or is it actually going to be dollars and cents?
Yeah, that hasn't been explained yet, how they expect to compensate people, or what the limits are going to be to that, and what kind of compensation are we talking about? Fair market value compensation, or what they deem it to be compensation?
Who's deeming fair market value? eBay?
Yeah. Who?
GPA?
That leaves a lot of openings. That leaves a lot of openings for interpretation as far as CGC is concerned. And if people don't like it, once again, it backs down to, well, we don't actually have to do anything for you,
Exactly.
Jack. Take it or leave it. And, people will take it, because what else are they going to do?
Exactly. Fair market value. I mean, and especially fair market value on a 9.8 newsstand, Mark Jewelers, whatever, that literally it's like the unicorn book that like never comes up for sale. What's the fair market value on that? There's no, like, Hulk 181, like, there's consistent sales data. Like, we know what an 8.0, we know what a 7.0 goes for, but these other books, I mean, what does a 7.0 or 8.0 ASM number 3 go for? Like, how many of those are there?
Not enough, but I'm sure there's a crap ton of them on the census. Those are the books that have the most numbers on the census.
Well, yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, but it's just like, I don't see how you're valuing these, and for them to start cutting checks, like, to me, for them to start cutting checks, they're going to have to get money out of this guy that that did this. Like, I mean, they're going to have to get restitution.
Well, they should pursue him. I'm sure that they've considered that, because, as I pointed out earlier, he defrauded CGC first.
Right.
He misused their service and defrauded CGC first. So they have legal recourse to pursue this individual. So, I mean, and we'll see. It remains to be seen if they get anything out of it, because just because a judge orders you to pay something doesn't mean you're gonna. Right. You see that all the time. Somebody's ordered to pay, or the city's ordered to pay. One good example, I know it's way out in left field, is, if somebody's wrongfully incarcerated for a length of time, they're supposed to be compensated. Most states will do this. They're supposed to be compensated, I think it's $100,000 a year for every year that they're held, that they were wrongfully convicted. And every single person I've ever heard of that was released from jail after 15 years that wasn't supposed to be there had to sue the city to get it, and then had to sue them again to force them to pay and follow the other judge's order. So
to my understanding, you have to request to sue the federal government. You have to request permission to sue the federal government by the federal government.
Yeah. But I can imagine that if they sued this guy, what could they get from him, and how much?
Well, I mean,
how long?
The sales. See, I think eBay is going to be in this too, because, I mean, these transactions occurred on their platform, and this is fraudulent. These are fraudulent sales.
Yeah.
I know that CGC and eBay's lawyers are better than whoever this Jamoke's lawyers are going to be, because they can afford the lawyers.
What's going to catch him up, honestly, is when they get him for wire fraud. And people are like, why does that always come up? Because in theory, they tie that wire fraud to mail fraud. And then they say, because you deceived people in other states.
Yeah.
It's an okie doke from the FBI that they used back when people were robbing banks and then crossing state lines and the law couldn't pursue them. That's where they came up with all that stuff. So since if he sold those slabs through eBay or whatever to different states, wire fraud, mail fraud, they'll bury the guy. They may not get any money out of him, but he's going to jail.
Yeah, he might do federal time.
Yeah. And then the other argument, and again, I've mentioned this earlier, is people are like, well, I guarantee you other people are doing this. Yeah, probably. But now they're going to be investigating this a lot more closely. They've got their private investigators working on it. They'll find it. And I'm sure there's other people that are doing it. It can't be just the one person.
Yeah, there's too much money in this hobby now. And I knew something like this would eventually happen, some sort of scheme for big, big money, because there's when books are selling for $20,000, $30,000, scammers they're gonna reveal themselves.
Yeah, it's because I'm sure that other people have figured out that or something similar enough to it. But again, this is individuals scamming a system and taking advantage of customers as a result. And that's unfortunate. You can be mad at big, bad corporate CGC if you want, but that's ultimately what it boils down to. They're just trying to provide a service. They're not looking to rip anybody off. They've gone above and beyond, I think, but they have to save face.
This is kind of semi-related. I don't know if you kept up to date on this, like this Asheville Comics guy. There was a lot of drama. He like promised all these pre-graded CGC 9.8s.
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
Okay. Well, like, I don't know if they ever, because I knew there was a lot going on with that. There was another channel. His name's Bronze Age Nerd. He was covering this extensively. Yeah. I wonder if they ever sued that guy. Like, I wonder whatever happened with that, because I'm wondering, has CGC ever taken anybody to court? Is this unprecedented?
I don't know if they took that guy to court, but I know that they confiscated his books so that they could work directly with the people,
the owners
who
of the
he
books.
took books from. He was like, if you legitimately own these books, you contact us and we'll make sure you get it. If we've got it, we'll make sure you get it.
Yeah, Doug Segelis was that guy's name.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually went in that shop, and that was wild to me, because, and he was getting all these massive cases. Like, that's what always blows my mind, is like, do you think you're going to get away with defrauding these huge companies? Like, they are going to win. They have the money.
Yeah, they have the money. We can't afford those types of attorneys.
No, I mean, it's going to bleed. It's going to bleed you dry just in the attorney fees.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the dude that broke the story.
Okay, there he is. Glad you could join us today.
He's the guy that posted this on Instagram, the ASM 252.
Okay. But yeah, again, and ultimately, I find myself in the position, unfortunately, of championing CGC because there's only so much you can really blame them for in the long run. It's not going anywhere.
And you're coming at that from an objective perspective. You're not coming at that because you have CGC books. You're looking at this like, what can they do? I mean, put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's just like, crucify them. I want to see them burn. It's like,
yeah.
Do you want to go back to the old ways of how we sold high dollar books? Do you want to trust that seller? Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean,
going to a show with a magnifying glass and a black light and sitting there like this in that bad lighting.
Exactly.
45 minutes. Is this really an 8.5?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, we're already nerds. And do you really want to be the magnifying glass nerd? I don't, personally.
I've done that. So, I've got the big one. I've got this big, and I got it from a hardware store, and it's got LED lights on one side.
I respect
So,
that, Dave.
like,
just the way you said magnifying glass and black light, I was like, this man has done this.
yeah, I have. I admit it. I have. I got a couple of dealers. Bobby, Bobby, you know who you are if you're watching. He calls me the doctor when I come in.
Oh my God. You have a nickname.
No, the doctor. I'm the doctor. I could use a different nickname though, but that's all right. Well, Doctor Who.
Hey, there you go.
I'll take that, but it's not easy. It's not easy, and you can still miss things. You can still miss things, and you got to go through page by page. There's a lot.
Is it restored? Is it trimmed? Are these staples the original patina? Are they the correct age?
Yeah.
I mean, and the dealer is not your friend. They're not going to be like, well,
not always.
That may be restored.
Not always, because there's a lot of them that are not. I mean, there's some pretty decent dealers out there that are fairly honest, and there's some out there that are not so easy to work with and not so honest either.
Yeah, Fluffy Cat says the cases have always been a joke.
As far as security, they say.
Yeah, I disagree. Dude, those original CGC cases compared to where we are now, you could literally pull those OG CGC cases apart.
You could split them easily with your fingers without hurting anything, which I have done that.
Same.
I'll remind people that Sticky Goose has an interview coming up with Immaculate Comics, who is the guy who did the video where he showed breaking open and fairly reasonably resealing a slab for the purpose of switching it out as a demonstration. And what day was that?
It'll be Saturday. It'll be on his channel.
Mm-hmm.
I've never talked to him. But he seems very intelligent, and honestly, he just from his other videos, it seems like this guy is coming from like a chemistry background or possibly engineering, because this guy seems pretty sharp.
What time is that?
We haven't nailed down a time yet. I think it's either 7, 8 Eastern. He's West Coast.
I've got a 9 wants to know if it's going to be live.
It will be live, yes.
Okay. I've got a big one coming up Saturday.
Nice.
I think it's a big one. I think it's interesting because it's a big piece of comic history. You know the infamous girlfriend variant Spider-Man?
The J. Scott Campbell stuff?
No, the Spider-Man, the first appearance of the Hobgoblin or the Green Goblin that somebody scribbled all over with a magic marker.
No.
You don't know that? The angry girlfriend variant. Look it up. Angry girlfriend variant Spider-Man.
Okay.
It's one of those big lore individual books. Anybody here know what I'm talking about? Kind of like Nicolas Cage's Superman that was stolen and found again. It's like a legendary status book. This is a legendary status book. 99 says cool story turned out to be made up. Kind of. And Tough Book says Comic Tom and Guru were talking about it. This is one of those books where when you see it on the wall, people ask to take their picture with it. And it's about like some girlfriend got angry at her boyfriend named Chance and destroyed the book by almost completely covering it with black magic marker and writing rude stuff on there.
Right.
I found Chance.
You're kidding me.
And he's coming on the show live on Saturday.
That is hilarious. What a cool interview.
Yeah, I found the guy, and I've already talked to him about it. And his story, and confirmed it with the original.
Real.
Yeah, the original person the original vendor who purchased it raw, because it's slabbed and everything now, and the guy is bringing it around to shows.
What's the grade?
Like 1.8.
Blue label?
I believe so.
That's awesome.
It came in and says what time. It's going to be 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be talking with the original Chance. With the original Chance. But it's an interesting story, but it doesn't necessarily jive with the story being told by the person who has the slab.
Oh, interesting.
The guy who got it slabbed. And I mean, seriously, this book has been featured in Newsweek magazine.
Oh my God.
Yeah. After it was slabbed, I believe. And so it's, the lore has grown and grown, and Chance is like, it ain't like that exactly. And so it's an interesting story, and we're going to share that. I thought it was, I thought it would be really interesting. Ghost Junk says he heard about the book.
Yeah, that'll be a good live, man.
Yeah, hopefully you guys will be able to join us and hear his version of the story.
That guy's got to get that book back, man. Like at this point,
not for what that current owner is asking for it.
What's he asking?
Something crazy, like I think he's inching up over a few $100,000.
I'll get out of here.
He's trying to. He's playing off of the lore of the book. Because there's only a few books that there's a legitimate story to, like Nicolas Cage's Superman, where everybody is like, "Oh, this is the book that was stolen from Nicolas Cage's house."
That Ultimate Fallout 4 acetate cover will be one of those books. I feel like.
It's gonna have a lot of lore about it.
Just like drama, like there's so many books now that there's like drama like tagged to them.
Yeah.
The question will be, will that drama be remembered?
Yeah. That acid gate was ridiculous. They blew that up on purpose. I know that who is it? Keep It Thorough interviewed her. I saw part of that discussion. You're getting some props on your lighting there.
Appreciate that, Fluffy Cat. Yes, got these Govee LED lights.
There you go. You see that?
I think I have a pic of me holding this. Nice. This dude has a really good live stream Beyond Wednesdays. Okay. They do. Yeah, they're good.
But anyways, that should be interesting. I think we've about beat that horse to death as far as CGC and opinions on that.
Yeah, I think you're in two camps. I mean, you're in the rational side that, maybe cut CGC some slack. They're trying to do the right thing. You can argue, did they do it quick enough? Did they make a statement fast enough? Okay. Or you're in the other camp of, damned if they do, damned if they don't. It doesn't matter what they do. Slabs need to go away. And I don't think that's a rational thing. But I don't know. I'm a CGC fanboy with a wall full of slabs. So
sure,
anything that comes out of my mouth about that is not. I can understand from a viewer's perspective. How can I take this guy at his word? Because I have invested interest, but I'm trying to come at this from like a rational perspective.
Yeah, and just being realistic about it, the slabs aren't going anywhere. CGC is not going anywhere. People are still going to use the service. It's still a useful function. I mean, you can go back to the Wild West of, like we were joking about earlier, guessing your way through looking at a raw book at a convention, hoping that there's enough light that you don't miss something or overlook something in the book, taking a dealer's word for it and he messes you over, or getting something off eBay and it's not the right grade, and then having to deal with all that rigmarole, trying to send things back and forth. the whole idea of slabbing it was to make sure, okay, this is reasonably about what the grade is.
Right.
You know, that's reasonable enough.
And objectively, it's from a third party that has no invested interest of whether or not it's that great or not.
Yeah. It's just helpful. And again, most people, excuse me, they're not going to have the skill sets to spot restorations, or at least most restorations. If something was trimmed, you're not going to be sitting down there with a mat and measuring tools and saying, wait, this is like a hair off. This has been recut. You're not doing that at a show.
No.
There's so much that could be missed. And that's what the grading has done away with. People like that.
They want the service. I mean, people want this service. I mean, it's not going anywhere. The demand is still there. And it's collectors and dealers. They both want it.
Because as a seller, you don't always want to deal with that either.
I know plenty of sellers that's just like, I'm going to put my whole inventory down there. Let them grade it and then deal with that.
Yeah, it's a lot easier for a seller who's buying, at a show. You bring him a raw book, you don't know what kind of response you're going to get. He says it's a 6, you say it's an 8. You're not getting anywhere.
Exactly.
But if it's in a slab, there's no argument.
Yep, there's no argument. I wonder how
unless you're Sticky Goose.
Yeah.
And you show up with a stack of slabs.
I'm gonna My question is how far, so if you talk to a person at a show and say that they don't have their fingers on the pulse of the YouTube comic book world, is everybody going to know about this? I find it interesting. Will the common person, the common comic book collector who, is kind of half in it, half out, they're probably not going to know about this. Or is it just our small in group of people that talk about this all the time?
I have no idea. But I know I was just thinking of when you did the video of you're trying to sell your slabs.
Yeah.
And that's what came to mind. It was like as if you're a Sticky Goose and you go and you got a stack of slabs and they're like, let me just snatch this from you like this.
Yeah.
No.
No, my 9.8s weren't 9.8s in the slabs, bro. They were. Right. That was my favorite. The guy, Cincinnati Comic Expo. He was like, your Ultimate Fallout 4. It's not a 9.8. You see this here? Come a little bit closer. You see the spine tick? And I'm like, yeah, it's not a 9.8, man. Okay.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Let me see some of your books now. Let me say how that Marvel Spotlight 5 is not a 7.0. Oh no, that's actually a 7.5. So your books are 7.5.
You brought your books to J. Jonah Jameson from the first Spider-Man film. crap.
Yeah,
I'll give you $100.
It's pretty realistic, actually. Yeah.
That's it. You should have had that clip in the video.
So many missed opportunities.
That's okay. I do it too. What's Stone Sour says, are you into slabs? Did he collect raw books before?
Honestly, the first things I was collecting were like omnibus, trade paperbacks, collected editions, because that's how I like to read my books. Reading single issues to me is kind of cumbersome because you've got to collect them first. And then I'm really delicate with them because I don't want to hurt the issues. I know a lot of purists are like, the smell and the touch and the feel of the paper. It's just, I don't know. I like having the whole story. And that's why I like omnibus. The slabs came later, but we need to stay on the net. Yeah. That's for sure. I think,
and I'm the same way. I mean, I like all different kinds. So Most of what I have is raw though. Here,
Same.
Daniel, since you never saw it, let me see. I pulled up a picture of that variant.
Yeah, the slabs are. I think people got out of hand with what they were slabbing. Oh, here it is. People were sending books down there when they congested CGC that it was like, I'm not even sure. I think they were just slabbing to slab.
Yeah, they sent everything in. That's true. And then it changed. But there's your so-called Angry Girlfriend variant. First appearance of the Green Goblin.
Oh, see, I didn't think it was on ASM 14. I thought it was on a Mary Jane. I thought it was on her first appearance, or the cover where she's dancing. That's what I was imagining.
No, it's this one. It's a big book.
Oh, dude. So it says turn over, go to hell. I can't make out the other stuff.
Yeah, it's all over the book, and it's on both sides. And it says it's got see right here, Chance.
Oh, okay.
That's his name right there, Chance. And then it says whatever that says, and then turn over, because it's on both sides of the book. I don't know if I can find.
It's in a CBCS. That's huge.
Yeah, CBCS Slab. The Angry Girlfriend variant, they call it. But like I said, I mean, this has been featured in Newsweek. There's a big, oh, here's the back of the book.
Who's that? Is that Chance holding it?
No.
Oh.
I don't think he's had contact with that book since he got pissed off and sold it.
I thought I'd be able to destroy something that meant so much to me. As far as I'm concerned, you're dead. Damn.
So yeah, it'll be interesting.
I don't think I've ever had a breakup like that. Has any of your girlfriends destroyed your stuff, man?
You remember my story of my original collection?
Oh my God. Oh man. You've been down this road.
Yeah. I think I'd have rather this. At least I still have it. Yeah, she's the one. She took everything, and my ex took everything and sold it all. Moved to Vegas. So I mean, I lost a massive comic collection and toy collection many years ago.
So but this story kind of hits even closer to home.
Yeah, I guess so. But I think it'd be an interesting interview. It's tying into the modern comic lore of that book as it circulates and it gets to be bigger and bigger. I'm gonna ask him, because he knows, he watches that book. He watches that book, and I think he's kind of frustrated.
Monitors what the dealer's doing with it.
Yeah, because he's kind of frustrated with how the story is changing. See, so yeah, give him a chance to voice his opinion.
Well, that's just a really good example of how, the truth can be distorted.
Yeah. Stone Sour wanted to know what you thought of people slabbing action figures, VHS tapes, and pop figure. Yeah, Funko Pops get slabbed too. That's true.
Well, I think the Funko Pop is like the modern day Beanie Baby. So
yeah,
you don't want to know what I think about that.
Well, they're fun. People can't argue about it anymore because they are at the end of their run. It's the Pop's fading. Because
has the price crashed on those two?
Yeah, it's when you find them at the flea market, it's pretty much over. But yeah, the space in the stores is gone away. The all but the early stuff, which makes sense. The pre-mass production stuff is the value's not that great. They overdid it. They oversaturated, made too much. That was bound to happen. A fad can have a good 8-10 year run sometimes. But with anything else, after a while, people get sick of the novelty of it. And then what are you going to do?
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's a true story of like actual rarity and scarcity versus artificial scarcity. And that's a perfect example. It's unfortunate, but a lot of people got wrapped up in that. But I mean, talking about action figures, comics, like these were things that weren't meant to be collected. These were items that were, they were meant to be entertainment, tossed aside, garbage pretty much. So when you have things like that, that's actually a collectible.
Yeah.
These Funko Pops, I mean, people don't even take them out of the box like from day one.
Yeah, and when they were making them at first, when they started making them in 2010, nobody was interested in them. They didn't really pop off until 2014. So in 2015, they started cranking them out. So they've had about a good 8-year run, and that's about right. When you look at the run for Beanie Babies, when you look at the run for Cabbage Patch, and people are like, it's not the same because Funko has so many franchises. But if people are tired of the concept, it doesn't matter how many franchises they have. It's nothing against the Funko. If you like the Pops, that's fine. But, after a while, people just don't want it anymore. And it's a good reflection against the modern comic book industry and their reliance on variant covers.
That's a really good analogy too. I mean, it's just it's based completely on demand. If there is no demand for it anymore, then it just goes away.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. And that's an artificial demand market that's been created in comics based off of variants, often on books that when you open it up, it's trash. The artwork is terrible. The story is terrible. The cover art may be really well done, but is that enough to sell the book? Look at Berserker, 69 variant covers. How many do you need? And which one is going to hold value, if any? If any.
Yeah, that's a topic you and I have talked about many times, and we're so aligned on that. And CGC, getting back to CGC, I mean, that definitely didn't help when they were just people were sending books down there, slabbing every variant, slabbing every modern book printed 9.8, 9.8, 9.8. That devalues the slabs, in my opinion, because you oversaturate the market with slabs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I'm not some like grand arbiter of like, well, your book's not worthy of slabbing. I'm not saying that. It just maybe not slab like your 2023 69th variant of Berserker. I mean, I don't know. It's not the purpose of slabbing. And you and I are very aligned. Like the purpose of the slab is preservation, determining whether or not it's been restored and trimmed, color touched. I mean, these are the reasons why you slab. And I think we as a community need to realize that.
And then you have books that are truly rare and they get overlooked. This is a good one.
I love that Solomon Grundy. Yeah, first Silver Age Solomon Grundy.
Yeah, and there's more to this book than that too, because here you also have the first Silver Age reemergence, the original Green Lantern,
right?
And then the origin story of Dr. Fate and Power Man. That's a big book.
Yeah, you've got multiple things going on there.
Yeah, that's a big book, but this is a lot harder to find than ASM 300.
Exactly. Well, it's a Silver Age book. I mean. Again, that's disposable entertainment. It wasn't kept as a collectible. ASM 300 was kept as a collectible.
Yeah. Or all those copies of X-Force #1.
Oh, with the Deadpool card.
Yeah, that came in the little bag.
I love it.
And they had to find a way to make that work, so they made the Deadpool card the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's going to be valuable, damn it. I swear.
The Deadpool card's the one you want.
Yeah, that's the rookie.
Whenever something comes in a poly bag, it's forced collectability right there.
Oh, Death of Superman?
Mm-hmm.
With their 8 million pressings of the first of the first print. Something crazy like that, if I remember correctly.
I think the X-Men #1 was the 8 million printings.
Well, you might be right, because that sounds right. The Jim Lee X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, get that one. There's a million of those slab too, by the way.
Yeah, it's a funny book to slab. Maybe, you know, I know a lot of people slab things for nostalgia, and I definitely get that. You know, it's like, oh man, this is like the first comic book I ever got.
Sure.
I just don't come from it from that perspective, but
I don't blame
I get
you.
it.
Yeah, for some people it makes sense. For some people it makes sense. So there we go. I think we've said our piece. I'll go ahead and start wrapping things up. So thanks again to Daniel from StickyGoose Comics for joining us this evening and discussing what's going on in the comic market with CGC and the scammed slabs. And I expect to see more. I'm sure it'll continue to develop. I'm sure there's a possibility other people may be exposed that are doing the same thing as they take a closer look at the method. That because I mean, it's plausible it could just be one guy, but you never know. You never know. It's reasonable to assume it could be a dozen or who knows how many people doing that, but it's negligible enough that the majority of people don't have to worry too much about dealing with CGC as far as their own personal collections are concerned. Any final words?
Well said. I think you nailed it. I think this is a kind of a bump in the road, an interesting story. Very unfortunate for the people that this happened to, which are the true victims.
Yeah.
But this is not a damning of a service. This is not a damning of a company. This is going to happen. This was bound to happen when this kind of money got into it.
Yeah, there's always somebody looking to work the system. And that's with any business. So thanks again. And thank you to everybody who was able to join us here this evening. Hope you got something out of the conversation. And we will catch you again on the next video.